Hello, dear students. Once again, I am here with our exercise control and coordination in text question and exercises. So far, we have completed live processes, control and coordination chapter. As far as live process is concerned, we have taken some tests also in which your understanding level I have understood. Most of the students have completed that test. If you have not completed, the links are given in the group to complete that test. You can just once again start giving test whichever are available on internet still yet. You can go through so that your understanding level you can check. You have to check because marks comes as soon as you submit the test. The test marks also coming. So let us start with these in-text questions and exercises from this chapter, control and coordination. First question, in-text question on page number 119 is, what is the difference between a reflex action and walking? What is the difference between reflex action and walking? So here answer is given. The reflex action, here it should be involuntary. Okay, the reflex action is involuntary action which is a rapid automatic response to stimuli, while walking is voluntary action which requires our thinking, and it is in our control. So the actions which require thinking, which are controlled by us, are called as voluntary actions. So the answer of this question lies, your concept should be clear about what is meant by voluntary actions and what is meant by involuntary actions. Voluntary actions are the actions which are controlled by our thinking process. They are controlled by our thinking process. If we think to walk, then only we will walk. Automatically we will not. If we wanted to sit here only, we will sit. These are voluntary actions. But involuntary action, digestion of food. Can you think that I don't want to digest the food and then digestion of food stop? It can't. Peristaltic movement of our small intestine. Is it possible that it will work according to our wish? So this is involuntary action. Likely reflex actions are also involuntary actions. Here in answer, in initial stage it has come as a voluntary, but it should be involuntary action which is rapid and automatic response to stimuli. Okay, while walking is voluntary action which requires our thinking, and it is in our control. So I hope you have understood this answer of this question, what is the difference between reflex action and walking. Let's go towards next question, that is, what happens at synapse between two neurons. We know that neurons or nervous system connects neurons to each other, but there is a gap between two neurons that is called as a synaptical gap. This synaptical gap is the gap between dendrites and next nerve endings and next dendrites. Okay, while talking about how neurons works, how processing of information works, at that time I told you that during the processing chemical impulses are received by dendrites. These chemical impulses are get converted from chemical impulses to electrical impulses while going to the cell body of the neuron, that is towards nucleus. Here at dendrite only this happens, and then these electrical impulses from cell body to nerve endings are carried out by the axon. But as soon as these electrical impulses reaches to the nerve endings, they get converted into chemical impulses once again, and these chemical impulses are left in the gap. So in the gap, once again next neuron will collect chemical impulses with the help of dendrites, and so on it will continue for the next neurons. So question is, what happens at the synapse between two neurons? A synapse is the gap between the two neurons. At synapse, the electrical signal converted into chemicals that can easily cross over the gap and pass on to the next neuron, where it again converted into electrical signals. So this is the appropriate answer for this question. Next question, question number 3, which part of the brain maintain posture and equilibrium of the body? Cerebellum is the Answer: cerebrum and cerebellum. These are two parts of the brain. Cerebrum is present in forebrain, cerebellum is present in hindbrain. We have discussed, and I told you that if we lose the control over, or if something happens to cerebellum, we cannot maintain our posture or equilibrium. At the time of text reading, at the time of discussion, I have given you example of drunken person, alcoholic person. They don't have balance, they don't have control on their balance, so they are healing and doing. That type of example I have given you that time. So they lose control over the cerebellum, and that's why they cannot maintain their posture. So cerebellum, you have to remember, cerebellum is important part of the hindbrain, which is important for maintaining posture and equilibrium of the plant, of the animal, of our body. Next question is, how do we detect the smell of an agarbatti, that is incense stick? So here you are expected to remember the receptors. For smell, which receptor is there? For taste, which receptor is there? For heat, which receptor is there? For touch, which receptor is there? All these receptors you have to remember. When the smell of the incense stick really reaches to our nose, then the olfactory receptors present in our nose detect it and send this information to forebrain in the form of electrical signals. Forebrain interprets this information as the smell of incense stick where it is already stored. So here what is important is you have to remember about the about this word, that is olfactory receptors. This olfactory receptors is very important word, you have to remember from this. So this is olfactory receptor present in our nose which detect the smell. Okay, so next part we will see. Next question, what is the role of the brain in reflex action? What is the role of the brain in reflex action? So once again, very important question. Actually, as far as brain is concerned, it have no role in direct involvement, is not there in reflex action, but during reflex action one segment of information need to be sent to the brain. Okay, so brain can take appropriate action when it will come in action. Okay, so brain has no direct involvement in reflex action. It is mainly controlled by spinal cord, as these actions not require thinking and are very quick in action. Next question, what are plant hormones? What are plant hormones? Plant hormones are the fluids which are secreted within the plant, also known as phytohormones. Phyto means plants, hormones means chemicals. So these are the chemicals secreted by plants and they are stored in the plants. They are called as phytohormones. Plant hormones regulate the growth and development of the plant. Examples of plant hormone are auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, abscisic acid, ethylene. These are the examples of plant hormones or phytohormones. Next question, how is the movement of leaves of the sensitive plant different from the movement of shoot towards light? So see here, tropisms are very important. Different tropism, movement towards light, phototropism, movement towards water, hydrotropism, touch, thigmotropism. Some of the movements are dependent on their direction is dependent on the substances, some of them it is not. So here in this question, how is the movement of leaves of sensitive plant, that is Choimei plant, or I told you Mimosa pudica plant, is different from the movement of shoot towards light? The movement of the leaves of the sensitive plant are touch sensitive and independent of growth. These are independent of the growth, while the movement of the shoot towards light is growth related to the phototropism. So it is growth related to growth. Movement of shoot towards light is related to growth, and movement of leaves it is independent of growth. That's why this is the difference. Question next is, give an example of plant hormone that promotes growth. We know that auxin is the hormone which promotes growth. This next question is very important as far as examination is concerned. How do auxin promote the growth of a tendril around a support? Now we must know about tendril. Some Cucurbitaceae family are having spring like structures. They are around the support, they are catching the support and they help in the growth of the plant. When tendril come in contact with any support, the part of the tendril in contact with the object does not grow as rapidly as part of the tendril away from the object. सो टेंडल का जो पार्ट सपोर्ट के कांटेक्ट में आएगा वो ग्रो नहीं होता है, उसके अपोजिट वाला ग्रो होता है, क्योंकि जहाँ जो सपोर्ट में पार्ट आया वहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन प्रोडक्शन नहीं होता है, अवे फ्रॉम द सपोर्ट होता है, और वो जहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन का प्रोडक्शन हो गया वहाँ पे इलॉन्गेशन ऑफ सेल विल टेक्स प्लेस एंड दिस इज कॉज्ड बाय द एक्शन ऑफ ऑक्सीजन हार्मोन. लेस ऑक्सीजन अकर्स ऑन द साइड ऑफ contact as compared to the free side. As a result, oxygen promote growth on the free side and tendril coil around the support. This is the proper answer of this question. Design an experiment to demonstrate hydrotropism. We have to design one experiment to show hydrotropism. Answer for this question is: take two small beakers and label them as A and B. Fill beaker A with water. I will just explain you this experiment very quickly. We have to take two beakers, okay, and with the help of these two beakers, this beaker A we have to fill up with water, beaker B we have to keep it empty, and after this we have to bridge these two beakers with the help of a bridge made up of paper or filter papers you can take, or you can take tissue papers, and in this tissue paper we have to keep some germinating seeds, and we have to cover this whole experiment with the help of glass jar so that humidity can be maintained. So what will happen? The germinating seeds will start growing water side towards beaker A. This is called as a hydrotropism. We can understand with the help of this. Now next question is: how does chemical coordination takes place in animals? Okay, so chemical coordination takes place in animals with the help of hormones. Hormones are the chemical fluids that are secreted by glands of the endocrine system. Hormones regulate the overall growth and development of the animal. This is the answer. Why is the use of iodized salt advisable? I told you, for secretion of thyroid glands, for thyroxine secretion, thyroid glands which they secrete, for secretion of this there is a requirement of iodine. If iodine is in less amount, thyroxine will not be secreted in proper amount, which will cause swelling of the neck where thyroid glands are present in neck. So deficiency of this iodine will swelling of the thyroid gland will take place, what we call it as a goiter. Let us read the answer. Iodine stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroxine hormone. This thyroxine hormone regulates carbohydrate, fats and protein metabolism in our body. Deficiency of this hormone results in the enlargement of the thyroid gland. This can lead to goiter, a disease characterized by swollen neck. Therefore, iodized salt is advised for normal functioning of the thyroid gland. Next question is: how does our body respond when adrenaline is secreted in the blood? I told you this is fight or flight hormone. Adrenaline is called as a fight or flight hormone. Let us see what is the answer. When someone is in danger or in emergency, then adrenal gland secretes adrenaline hormone. It is secreted directly into the blood and is transported to different parts of the body. It speeds up the heartbeats and hence supplies more oxygen to muscles. This results in increasing breathing rate and blood pressure, which enable them to fight with such urgent situations. So this is the function of adrenaline gland. Next question is: why are some patients of diabetes treated by giving injections of insulin? Insulin is secreted by pancreas, I told you, and insulin open up the cell wall to inject sugar inside the cell from the blood. So what is meant by diabetes? We all knowing insulin is not secreted in proper amount or in over amount, then it is called as a diabetes. Diabetes is caused due to less or no secretion of hormones insulin by pancreas. In such a person, blood sugar level is high. Insulin converts extra sugar present in blood into glycogen. Thus, patients suffering from diabetes are given insulin injections to control their sugar level. So these were all were the in-text questions. Let us go towards next part, that is exercises, in next video lecture. So I hope you have understood answers and how we have to think, how we have to correlate questions with in-text material. When we are thinking and when we are studying, we have to correlate all these concepts with our life happenings, then it will become easy to understand. So whenever you are studying, correlate these all concepts with our life, whatever daily happenings are there. If we correlate it, it will be very easy to remember. That's why these chapters are applicable to our life, applied aspects are there, so we have to study them very well. In next lecture we will discuss about exercises. Till that time, stay safe and stay motivated, be happy. Okay, goodbye, thank you.